You know what? Hide your wives. Hide your kids. Better yet, hide your sons. Because Heather is on the loose. She's cheated on and she needs some comfort from a 16-year-old boy. We're at 6K, y'all. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss the Inkwell. Now, this movie is from 1994 and it stars Lorraine Tate, Glenn Truman, Joe Morton, Suzanne Douglas, Vanessa Bell. Everybody's here. Now, before we get into all things Martha's Vineyard, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss. You know, it really pays off to go back and watch so many of these films that you just really didn't grasp when you were a kid. Because I swear, leave it up to me, I felt like there was a whole lot more going on with Drew that we just did not recognize.
Go back.
Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's jump into this movie. Now, this movie was directed by Matty Rich, who did not go on to do a whole lot, unfortunately. He only did this film and directed straight out of Brooklyn. Now, this movie was also written by Trey Ellis, who also wrote Tuskegee Airmen and Good Fences. Now, what I can immediately recall me remembering about this film was solely Lorenz Tate in the range that I felt like he depicted in this film. For me to have seen him at whatever age and Menace to Society, and then see a film like this one and just show how he can go from literally 0 to 10, from old dog to the very quiet, shy, dismissive Drew, I thought that was really amazing. And it was really the start of me seeing how much, you know, range he had to pick certain roles, just to show just how diverse he is. I don't think he gets a lot of play as far as his acting and what he's capable of, but to go from Menace to Society to the Inkwell to movies like Love Jones to Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Dead Presidents, in such a short amount of time, I really feel like that is freaking amazing. Give the brother some snaps. Give him some Sanctuary Darius Love Hall snaps. Now, I can also remember the movie being set in the late 70s and our Drew character being very different, very unconventional as far as what I have seen as Black characters, teenage characters especially, depicted on screen. He was strange at first glance because immediately we start with him having a full-fledged freaking conversation with a doll, a puppet. A strange looking puppet at that. That should look like a cross between a horror movie and Smokey from the Hey Yo Seymour. Smokey from PJs? Yeah, that's what that doll looked like. But now, being as educated as I am, I'm not. I can identify that he was dealing with anthropomorphism when you give these inanimate ass object human-like characteristics. You can hear them speak, have whole conversations, and that it not be so strange, and that this is actually a big sign of an active imagination and him being really intelligent, which is very present right away in the film. He's using Lago to rationalize a whole lot of his behavior, but at the same time, for friendship, he is so shy and so antisocial and really misunderstood and seen as, you know, off, a little crazy, a little weird. Meanwhile, he is brilliant enough to rig his freaking bedroom to have his parents think that he's in there sleeping. He is clearly really smart and wired a bit differently, but right away, maybe 20 minutes into the film, I started to think that maybe there were some strong signs of him being autistic, borderline, on the spectrum. Let me explain. The reason why we felt like Drew was so weird and we didn't understand him right away is because, you know, in '94, we didn't really know or how to even identify what those behaviors looked like. But if you pay attention in this film, I feel like they were saying things without saying them. Drew is very, very anxious. He takes things really literally. Sometimes he doesn't understand sarcasm. He's really obsessive over things when he likes them. He has strong communication issues. He likes to isolate himself. He's really socially awkward. I think it was way more than him just not having the ability to be mature and read the room. I think we were on the spectrum. Just my opinion though. In my opinion, I believe that's what makes this movie really stand out in our brains, because if you actually watch the movie, it's not really some phenomenal writing. It isn't really strong and memorable in certain ways, even though it has a phenomenal cast. But what stands out in your mind is just remembering just how different Drew was, and you just couldn't put your finger on what exactly was wrong with him. Now, we do have a big portion of the story being dedicated to Drew's parents, mostly his father just not being too accepting and really understanding him and really recognizing the true brilliance that he possessed. There are these deep undertones of him accidentally maybe setting the house on fire and the family feeling like it's a bit more. He needs a little bit of help. Is he crazy? Is he some future up and coming arsonist trying to blow us the fuck up? But I feel like the heart of the story is really revolving around Drew and the behaviors that he displays once we get to the Inkwell. Now, the Inkwell is his mother, Suzanne Douglas, and ex-Panther Joe Martin, aka Byron Douglas, is going to take a break and maybe develop Drew a little bit more to have some emotional maturity. There is just so much weight on his shoulders in this movie to act and be a certain way just because he's 16, he's a boy, and 16-year-old boys should act like this. Now, Martha's Vineyard is where we're gonna go to spend time with our aunt, husband, and cousin who not only have money and are conservatives, but are Black, conservative, super conservative ass Black Republicans. This was maybe my first time seeing a Black Republican. I'm talking framed pictures of Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan on the wall, Black conservative Republicans. There has always been such a strong stigma, even to this day, of Black people who decide to be Republicans. So this movie was really progressive in saying like, yeah, we're Black, we're Republicans, and we're fucking proud of it, indulging in it, really looking forward to Ronald Reagan getting into office. We know how that shit went. But it was really nice and really different to see that here, because, you know, it's that whole Black Republicans don't exist, because, you know, you have to choose a side when low-key Democratic, don't none of these sides compliment a damn thing as far as Black people are concerned. And not only does this lead to really funny banter and really great commentary, that 100% of the time doesn't always coincide with the flow of the movie, but we do get really great views on politics, capitalism, wealth, Black plight, you know, little conversations here and there. And it was really great to see that here in this film. We barely get any of that shit now. Now, once we have everybody in Martha's Vineyard and everybody's just looking absolutely beautiful in this film, everybody's hair and skin, everybody was just popping like everybody was popping like Chris Brown. We round out the cast here with Mary Ellis here as Evelyn, the mom, who is just she is clearly really judgmental, has this complex, this favoritism. You know, she's that mom who's all in the vineyard and whatnot. Like, girl, look what you could have had. You chose this militant Black Panther and left all of this. She just wishes her daughter chose better, but you can tell that she has a different treatment for her, and it's a little underdeveloped, but we get the point. Evelyn can. More importantly, we are introduced to Drew's cousin Junior, portrayed here by Dwayne Martin. Drew sticks out like a sore thumb in comparison to him. He is really girl obsessed. He's equally obsessed with his appearance. He's the cool, physically and mentally developed, swagged up cousin. We really take the time to speak on social norms and what a typical, regular, normal teenage boy should act and care about. And I love that early on, the movie did try to put a real stamp on, you know, hey, all boys aren't one-dimensional, especially black boys. We have Drew here, who is completely different from his cousin, who is all about the conquest, the next girl he could sleep with, rack up, try to impress his friends. Drew is none of that. He is so shy and so sensitive. We even have to have his mom trying to pull him into the fold, you know, go hang out, go to the beach, you know, more of that on the spectrum. I know how afraid you are of change and how resistant you are. You like things to go a certain way, that order, that the play with me if you want. But it's very unfortunate that later on in the film, everything that they build up as far as Drew being allowed the room to just grow naturally and be loved for who he is, we start to kind of chip away at that at the end of the film. Now, once we establish the foundation of the family, the lack thereof of relationships, you know, black militant, black Republican, you know, we set those grounds. Once we have the honest topic of why they're there and is Drew okay, and they have an open discussion about therapy in 1994, almost fell out my chair. I always love when we can squeeze in some mental health as conversations, but it's even more present with it being present in this film in 1994, with the family having an open discussion about why Drew really burned the house down, and maybe he could use some counseling, some therapy on the island, and we having, you know, a portion of the family just be absolutely for it, and then having another portion, very traditional militant black father, go, oh no, my son isn't crazy, always equating needing therapy or a little assistance mentally to being crazy. Absolutely loved it. Really exploring that stigma for a moment of trying to get help, you know, for your mental state. That's admitting defeat. That's admitting guilt. You just deal with it and you move on. You're not crazy. Why do you need to talk to somebody? Why do you need counseling? If you go to get counseling, that means you're admitting that you're crazy. We're coming along. This movie really did try to hit on a whole lot. I do wish that it was written and put together a lot better, but I can appreciate everything that they tried to hit on and squeeze into this film. Not only do we have Drew and the different behavior that he's displaying here and him just trying to find himself, but we get into things like their marriage, and you get into honest discussions like his parents and maybe that aspect of divorce, that genuine feeling of growing apart in your marriage. You know, TV will make marriage look like a walk in the park, when in actuality it is really hard, and sometimes people just gradually grow apart over time, and then we work on how to deal with that. And then we also have that relationship with, you know, Kenny being very stuck, very militant, feeling really superior in comparison to Spencer, who is downright a conservative asshole, you know, that sellout. But I do love that we have those conversations, you know, to come up just like, hey, I came up to do what you gotta do for yourself. But it's like, yeah, my brother, what about everybody else? I love them sprinkling in that conversation, and really that behavior that we have coming off of Kenny. I love when he runs off on the beach. He's like, I'm not chasing you, Kenny. And like, where you going, bro? Where you going on this island? But we have Kenny here. He is so angry at the lack of progress. You know, at this point, we are in 1976. All of the black leaders of that time, you know, the Malcolm X, the Martin Luther King Jr. have passed away. And the social climate is completely changing. We're getting, you know, into those late 70s, early 80s. The Black Panthers at that point had really low-key began to disband. Kenny feels like he just haven't seen much of that progress that he was promised, and he probably, you know, thought was going to come into fruition with him being a part of the Black Panther Party. But even if you don't apply the Black Panther aspect, when you get into Kenny and his behavior just in his marriage, or with the lack of foundation that he has with his son at the moment, it's really getting into his own emotional plight and just feeling like the state of the world, the whole climate where does that leave me as a black man who wants progress and wants change? And I just feel like, despite my best intentions, that shit just never happened. Once again, really great, underdeveloped, but really great topics. Now we also get further into Drew's character via Junior and his friends. His friends are quite underdeveloped as far as writing with the characters in the movie. It does actually kind of slow the movie down, and it's just like, how long? You know, it's very super duper cheesy 70s aesthetic. Chicka baby, ooh, ah, you know, it's very like, okay, but dancing, you know, they're really trying to give us some atmosphere. Automatic, systematic. Okay, let's get back to Drew, which is where I love to stay, and we get into Drew just not really understanding the concept of social cues. Now, we are very clear to know that Drew does not have any friends, but the way that he just kind of misunderstands and just doesn't know how to read the room and, you know, builds himself up to approach girls and, you know, ask them to dance. So Lauren, aka Jada Pinkett Smith here on the bullshit, snooty, booty, bougie, just that self-centered island tease who is not trying to give anybody any play and later only entertains Drew because of her situation or lack thereof with her ex-boyfriend. But I really love how we have Drew going up to ask the girls to dance, and even him going up to ask Lauren, and it's just like he does not comprehend so much, which really leads me to feel like there was way more going on, you know, a little bit, and we just didn't know what to call it. Now we also have the family follow through with the therapy session, which is really great to see, and I love that for a while in the film, we really don't have the dad acknowledge that his behavior or his behavior with his wife in the marriage and the lacking that's going on there is maybe affecting his son's behavior. He just sees him as weird. He's not, you know, doing normal things. Why is he spending time talking to a doll? Get out there, have real events, and have, you know, real friends. And he just doesn't get it. But we got Phyllis, Yvonne, Nikki here with her sexy chocolate stuff. I just absolutely love her. I love how she executes her role here as that island therapist, and the way that she handles Drew, the way that she speaks to him and acknowledges him, you know, just speaking all that life into him. It was very great. I just love anytime we get to see her on screen, just chocolate. The way that she just embraced him as the therapist and doesn't just go and write him off as, oh, he's crazy, he's speaking to a doll, and she takes the time to investigate a bit more and not write him off as, you know, weird and unusual like everybody else is considering him to be, and not really acknowledging his intellect. He is talking to, you know, Lago and whatnot, but Lago is an Othello reference. He's, you know, making references, building rockets and makeshifting shit, and he's quoting Shakespeare at 16. What's good? Your love so good, I wish I could. Ain't my type of hype, baby. Me. Shireen is here. Shireen. Shireen is here. AJ Johnson, aka Shireen, aka Jody's mama. Shireen is here, and I don't think she's ever looked more beautiful in a movie. She looks so gorgeous here. But she is the nice lady on the island who is married to a very wandering-eyed, cheating-ass, extra chocolate Morris Chestnut here in this film. Now, Heather is used here as a plot device to have a strong, budding friendship with Drew, but it's mostly due to the lack of attention that she is getting from her own husband. And this also attracts that snooty attitude, problematic ass Lauren's interest and curiosity, because if she can ride on the back of his bicycle, oh, I know I can. After we have Drew really start to discover who he is, really have more therapy sessions, we also have him admit, you know, hey, I wasn't trying to intentionally start a fire. I was, you know, making rocket fuel and shit just went astray. Like, and I mean, of course, we pretty much already knew that. Yet again, more hints of him being brilliant and being really active as far as his imagination, and it just being taken literally the wrong way and not properly digested by the family, steady making him, you know, isolate himself, be a recluse, because nobody understands me. We even have the therapist say, you know, the real ones would get it, the real ones will catch on. We didn't want that real one to be Heather and Lauren. So after we leave probably the funniest scene in the movie, Spencer assuming a militant Black Panther like Kenny doesn't know how to play goddamn tennis and gets fucked up for it and tries to do karate. You motherfucker, I'm gonna kick your ass, absolutely hilarious. Probably the funniest part in the movie to me. We really get deep into Drew, really feeling like he has a connection with Lauren. She finally calls him up and he is just so overly innocent and just excited. You really feel the gleam in his eye that he finally found someone, the someone that he likes who's actually noticing him. Meanwhile, we all pretty much knew that she was using him because she didn't have anything better to do. Like, she is the worst of the worst. You just absolutely dislike Jada Pinkett's character in this goddamn movie, especially when they get into the date aspect and you just see how freaking happy he is. Died for lobsters for her ass. Like, he just went above and beyond for the date, and not just the date and how demanding she was, but those deep conversations that he had, and you kind of see how perplexed and grounded and how far his mind really goes, and even begging the question of, you know, divorce. And they just have such this deep talk. We felt it, he felt it too, which is why he thought it would be a good idea to ask her to go out on a date. Be his date for the 4th of July picnic. And you know what happened? Do you fucking know what happened? He got all of his hopes up to be there sitting on that goddamn door with them dead ass flowers while she was in there doing whatever she was doing with her big buff ass boyfriend. Oh, you just felt the pain, you just felt the sorrow. But before we even got there, they are sure to build stakes and ground with the relationship that he has with the older woman, Heather. Now, I really got disconnected with the movie when we have him pretty much try to take heed with Heather, like, hey girl, everybody on this island knows that your husband is a cheat, except how the fuck do you cheat on the island? I have no idea. But he, you know, he finds this out and he just gets into this savior position for her. And we get into this really innocent Macaulay Culkin Homer-like aesthetic of him, you know, booby trapping the car. And it's just so childlike, and he found so much joy that he could do that for her. But when we took something so innocent and made it so predatory, I was like, why did we go here? We have Heather finally open her eyes up to the fact that her husband has been cheating on her on an island this whole time, and she gives her best American dream Jackson 5, you a liar and you a cheat. I don't want you, I don't want you. She gave her best Angela Bassett. She did what she needed to do, and she goes to find solace, and she just happens to end up on the beach at the same time as a broken-hearted Drew. Before that, we had already displayed this childlike innocence within him and the whole booby trap situation. We have him having that in-depth conversation on the boat with his father. Another funny, you know, what's a clitoris? He doesn't even know what a clitoris is. Like, ma'am. There's just been so much resting on his innocence and where he is mentally and physically in his life. You know, what do you mean y'all just talked on a date? I don't need condoms, I don't need this. This is just a date. I'm just happy to be in the presence of a female that I like. It's so pure. And then we have Heather take that shit and step on it. And the movie goes out of its way to depict it as this sweet, innocent moment of them finding each other brokenhearted on the beach. And, you know, he even tries to leave. She says, stay. And I really, like, low-key had a difficult time watching it at the age I am now, because I know before it didn't really bother me as much. We have a tendency to see things one-sided, especially when it comes to a sexual aspect. And a young boy, it's just like, oh, yeah, it's okay. But when you go back and look at that shit, like, okay, yeah, if it was flopped and that was a 16-year-old girl and that was, you know, some grown-ass married man, then we would have felt different. Just her, you know, embracing him and going into that kiss, her showing him where to put his hands and, you know, taking off his shirt, it just looked real Robert Kelly. I was very much so uncomfortable, and I just lost all the respect I had for what the director and the writer was trying to do here. Like, we already have Drew being this incredible kid, and it just seems to just go unnoticed because of these other over-exhausting tendencies that he has, you know, the shyness, the isolation, that rambunctious, just those social cues. He just doesn't have it all. But in our mind to go, you know what? this is what this movie was supposed to be about, just being accepting for who he is. Because when you go and you look past that, it is so much more beyond the surface. Drew is a great young man who's in the making to become an even better older. No. We snatch all of that and we have him have sex on the beach with this grown ass woman. No. And then we like make it okay because everybody in the movie, high key, his father and Junior, who wanted him to embark on, you know, sex to prove himself. Oh, you're a man, you're 16, you're this, you should be doing this. Where the girls, where the sex, when are you gonna fuck someone? It's considered validation. He, you know, walks up and it's just like, you know, you have that, you ever walk in on your parent and be like, you had sex already. Like, damn, how you know I had sex? It was on my back. Like, but his father immediately knows and Junior knows, and they just equate it to, you know, manhood. You reached your peak, and it's just like he's changed forever. Yago was no fucking where to be found. Like, it was just embraced, and this was, you know, the fulfillment of him changing and coming of age for the summer, when I felt like the real thing should have been him just coming of age and his family and everybody else as well as himself accepting who he was as a young boy. Like, he didn't even know what a clip was. Like, what? I was just so bothered by that, and it took a little bit of the sting out of the love that I used to have for this movie. Not that I, you know, love the movie any less, but, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I expected more from you, Heather. She should be locked up. Call somebody. Well, you guys, that was my review for the Inkwell. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this movie. Was I the only one just getting all cringy and whatnot at the aspect of Heather and Drew? Were you all for it? Did you high five the friend next to you and say, yeah, boy, get yours? Like, I wasn't there. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you so much for subscribing. We are at 6K on our way to 7K. We are growing. I see you guys next time. Bye.